Hey everyone, it's Dim and Kedge back again for another episode of Namaste Rich. I believe it is episode number 11, if I am not mistaken. Kedge,
Yeah,
hello.
yeah. Hey, nah. Hey, Dim. Nah, honestly, what I'm rolling in like on a from a crazy week, and I feel like I'm coming in with a lot of energy today. So I'll share a bit why in a moment. But yeah, nah, really glad we're doing this. We are just talking before, like about sometimes how exhausting the week can be, and we're rolling into this, and but just because we're doing it with each other, like I just feel like the energy's lifted, and like I'm ready to go, man.
Rev, take it away. I want to hear. I want to hear. You were saying.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, man. Just interesting. Just I guess a lot of it is like for us work-wise, industry specific, property space, a lot of changes going on in this year. Just to let everyone know that for those that aren't following this space, but ultimately there's been three interest rate rises, geopolitical landscape, which I think everyone's seen on the news, uncertainty, oil prices, inflation, all that kind of stuff. Then we got the budget changes that have happened somewhat recently, and people are a bit confused about that. So there's a lot of these things compounding on top of each other, which has created a lot of uncertainty in the space. I actually did a pretty cool LinkedIn post about it this morning, which I'll just explain it. But then yesterday we heard one of the biggest spies agents in the country folded. They liquidated. They went into liquidation.
Oh my
And yeah, and
God.
it's actually they're called Dashdot. Like you may have heard of
I've
them.
heard the name before, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to put them in rankings, but definitely in the top five biggest in Australia for sure. Um, so yeah, it's actually like I said, like I've seen a lot of people, and this is not what we're about, but a lot of people dancing on their graves and stuff on, upon it, on LinkedIn, whatever, talking shit, whatever. But man, it's actually like, man, there's a lot of people that, they're not going to get their deposits back because they've gone into liquidation, they're sourcing properties for them. Yeah, I think it's like 40 to 50 people out of a job. That's 40 to 50 families, whatever. So it's not a nice story, but it's just more sharing it to kind of show that's kind of what's going on in the space at the moment. Um, so thank God I'm super grateful because in
And
this
just quick,
environment,
so sorry,
oh
Kedge,
yeah.
is that because of the interest rates, or what happened?
Yeah, look, it's hard. Look, these things don't happen overnight. So look, I can't say the exact same reasons why, but overall in the last 6 months, the sentiment has definitely reduced. Like, so a combination of, so yeah, interest rates have increased, so people's borrowing capacities, but also not even just the capacities themselves, the fear that comes with attached to that. So it's more sentiment than thing, which I'll touch on in a minute. And then obviously all the stuff with Iran and oil prices going up and talks of inflation and just world's gonna crash kind of conversations that happen when these things happen. And then on top of that, then the budget changes that have happened as well, which there's definitely some impact to that, and borrowing capacities being a big one. And then on top of that, so that all combined sentiment. So what I would say, and this is I'm pulling a finger out of the finger in the wind at the moment. If there was 10,000 investors before, there's probably 5,000 now. So the overall pool of investors, has shrunk. So therefore, if every business was getting their fair share, then I guess they're all gonna shrink accordingly. Yeah, yeah. But thank God for us, we actually, luckily, not by massive numbers, but we're growing month on month, even given these conditions, which is great. Um, so just testament to the work that we're doing. And but definitely the conversations have changed. You can hear it in the people's voices. So a lot more education, a lot more to talk them through it, explain everything a bit more. But it's what I said on my LinkedIn post today. But I genuinely, it sounds weird and it sounds thing, but I actually love it. Like I just love it because you're taking these people from this confused, unsure place, and you're taking them to clarity and then to action. And bro, it's life changing for them. Imagine they didn't go through that journey. Then it's just like the people that can do that and be brave in this situation. I could almost certainly tell you that you're gonna be good after it because you've seen it so many times before and happy to talk to it. But and the people are being brave enough or brave enough to at least get educated to make that decision.
I think it would be sincerely really valuable for everyone, including myself, to talk about that, my bro. Like, can you help us understand what is happening? Like, because even myself,
Mm.
like we're trying to do this deal at the moment, and it looks like my options and my borrowing capacity and all this stuff has been kind of screwed over a little bit.
Yeah.
And I clearly, like, there's still a path forward because we're moving forward, and options have been presented to me, and I'm definitely still moving forward. But can you just, for this, the person that doesn't really know, like, What the fuck is going on? Can you help us understand?
Yeah, so with that, so I'll just quick, I think I explained it on the last episode, but it's worth repeating. So with the budget itself, like the two main changes was negative gearing has been removed for existing properties, and the capital gains tax has now been changed. So it's based off indexation, so which I explain again in a moment. Um, so just in summary, those two changes themselves aren't overly dramatic. The biggest impact is what you're talking about is people's borrowing capacities are getting cut because the negative gearing used to get added back into the borrowing capacity, and a lot of banks have kind of taken that out straight away. It's still new, and the banks themselves are figuring it out. So that's why everyone's confused. The brokers are confused. The banks, 'cause it's just everything's up in the air because it hasn't passed through Parliament yet either. So it's in this limbo
This
stage.
so the borrowing capacity getting taken out. I mean, sorry, the negative
Yeah,
gearing getting taken out of the borrowing capacity. So what that means is, if Dim was to buy a property for 500,000, but buying that property would imply that it's a negatively geared property to get into
yeah,
it.
yeah,
That negative gearing, let's say that negative gearing is $20,000 per month, sorry, per year,
yeah, yeah.
then they would reduce twenty
your
thousand
your
of.
borrowing capacity potentially by 100,000, like yeah, potentially by
Oh,
using rough numbers. So
yeah.
that's the biggest thing. So, but all yeah, so you know what? I'll quickly explain it again just because I think just in case people missed it before. So yeah, so with negative gearing, so those losses, yeah, so it is a loss because you cannot claim that as you would have now each year against your personal income. But those losses aren't lost forever. What's happening is those losses are being carried forward to such time where your property becomes positive or when you sell it. So you will still, those gains aren't fully lost, but you're just not going to get it in that tax year. So yeah, it's still not ideal, but you'd rather have the cash now than later, but that's what that means.
That's just a huge change though for a lot of people, because like that, like negative gearing for a lot of people is a cornerstone part of their strategy, right? Like,
Yeah, it shouldn't be, as in the sense that it's a bonus. Like for the,
yeah,
the main reason
I
you're investing
agree,
should.
by the way. Yeah, go
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So the main reason why you're investing is for the growth, and that's what's life changing. The cash flow to be able to hold the property, just so you can grow. So obviously, it helps you keep your head above water, so you can stomach the loss while the properties are growing. So that's what that's for. So yeah, you might need to readjust your buffers now. You might need to spend less, or whatever it may be, or look for different types of property like dual income and other things to keep your head above water, or things with granny flats and whatever, so that you may need to do that, you may not need to. It just depends on your thing, but just I guess you need to figure out what that number is so you can keep your head above water. What I will say though is I don't think that part is actually going to affect as many people as we think it would, and the only reason I say that is there is a way. People used to do a thing called what's called a PAYG variation. What that is you actually get your tax back in each pay cycle. So there's a form that you fill out rather than waiting to the end of the year to get a tax return. You kind of gets adjusted, which helps with your cash flow. The reality is, I feel like most people wait to the end of the year to wait for that tax return anyway. So I don't think day to day it's really affecting that many people's cash flow. There's definitely some, so I don't want to take that away from people, but I feel like most people are stomaching it throughout the year and they don't really know that, and then they can't just get like a
Yeah,
nice tax,
that
and
sounds
they get a
right.
nice tax return at the end of the year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, um, so that's just the negative gearing part. With the capital gains part, once again, it's technical. So I'm just gonna, in a simple sense, by the end of it, the difference isn't as dramatic as what people think it would be, because I'll just explain it, whatever. So it's now it's a current, well, not current. Prior to the changes, you got 50% tax free. So if you made $500,000, 250K is tax free. The other 250K is calculated based on your personal tax. Moving forward, it's based on indexation. So what the inflation rate for each year. So if you bought for 500,000, it's now worth $1 million. If in 10 years time you decide to sell it, based on inflation, that should be now worth 700, assuming 3% a year. So on that 300,000, you're paying tax. So a lot of different scenarios could happen. If we end up being in a high inflation environment, your tax could actually be less, right? If you're in a low inflation environment, it could be more. And there's scenarios, but net result isn't as dramatic as people made it sound. But to kind of recap the point, the main thing is because the negative gearing is coming out, borrowing capacity is being affected, which means people can borrow less than before. That is potentially that's what we've noticed to be the bigger impact. Actually, no, bigger than that, bigger than that is just the sentiment. It's just like, the sentiment attached with it. You see the news headlines, doom and gloom and scary and this and housing market's going to crash. All those things that, that stuff, that's actually probably the bigger effect. So even if you can borrow it, people are getting scared too. Yeah.
Makes sense, man. I definitely have the same mentality as you, which is just good if it keeps the competition out, and it creates more opportunity. Like if you're willing to lean in times like, is it because it does seem to be, I hate to say it, I don't hate to say it, it just seems to me the same principle over and over again, which is like there's always a million reasons why you can't do something. But if you're willing to lean in, you can find out how you can use the obstacle as the way, and you can find a way. That is the timeless, rich mentality. Like in any, whether it's in property, in business, in stocks, in whatever, is this not the timeless mentality? Like it's just like there's a million, always a million reasons why you can't do it. Is that's
And
my
yeah, and
simple
I'll
prediction.
be, yeah, man, I'm keen to take this principle and take it into other parts of life in a second with you because I guess this podcast, Namaste Rich, wellness in all parts of life. But just linking it back to this, like with property anyway, specifically, it's like the underlying fundamentals of why certain markets are growing haven't changed. There's undersupply in certain markets. It's super expensive to build new properties. Like there's labor shortages. There's the population growth. So all those things, supply and demand, in obviously different market that none of that rate rises don't change that. The global crisis doesn't change that. The fact that we take a negative gearing out doesn't change that. There's still not enough homes and specific, obviously, and more so in certain markets than there is enough for people there. So therefore, prices will move, right? So underlying all of that, those fundamentals haven't changed. So it's really now about your own personal risk, being smart about it. How can you keep your head afloat as you're doing it? What type of asset is right for you? And be brave to make that decision. That's really, yeah, really what needs to be done.
That makes sense, man. And is there anything else about the current economy that you feel that, people should know?
Oh, as in related to this per se, no, I think look, I think keeping it, yeah, there's always heaps to talk about. I'm keen to if there's anything specifically you're thinking about, but nothing further, in my opinion, that's worth elaborating
Here's to
on.
me what I
Yeah.
wonder. Do you think that in 5 years' time the changes will get reversed, basically? Because sometimes these things are temporary.
Yeah, potentially, right? As in, like, obviously, as in, at the moment, Liberal are way off the mark with Labour, but if they get into power, then they've already said they're gonna get rid of it, right?
Right.
So these things, and One Nation's making a big rise up the polls as well. Might get kicked out of the country, but but they've also said similar things too. So yeah, like these changes, like yeah, this is what this parliament has put in place. There's been a huge uproar, and yeah, other side have said they're going to get rid of it. There's been huge backlash. So who knows? Like, other side might come in. These guys might see the backlash and change their mind or adjust it. Um, yeah, but what I want to say is I don't care. Right, I'm going to work with what we have in front of us. These things, as I said, ignoring policy changes like the underlying factors that still make it good to invest in certain markets are still there. So I'm not going to get caught up. Yeah, no point. I don't get caught up in that. Actually, I really, a guy that I do, as in people would probably laugh at me when I say I respect him to a certain degree. Don't respect everything about him. There's a guy named Jack Henderson. Like you might have heard of him. He's
Yes, I
like, he
heard the
wears
name.
that. Yeah, wears the hat saying slumlord and stuff, on
Right.
his things. Like I said, there's lots of parts of him, once again, that I don't like, but he does. I don't even watch obviously when it comes to property specific stuff to understand it, but doesn't watch the politics, don't care about that because, man, the government ain't coming to save you. Like it's just like we're here to save ourselves. So just go do what needs to be done. And obviously, we'll understand the rules that matter to us and we'll work within that and get, no point sitting here debating this policy versus that policy. Understand it and just move on.
Amazing, man. Yeah, I'm with you all the way. That's wonderful. Wow.
Yeah, man. So I don't know. As in, obviously, you're in a very different field of work, and obviously, this particular stuff wouldn't directly affect. But has people that you're speaking to, based on what's going on in general, is there more fear out there, same fear out there, or obviously the type of people? I don't know. What? Yeah. Do you feel that in any way?
I promise, man. I promise. I really feel like I'm on the mark here with what I'm about to say, but like I look, man, here's where I first learned this lesson, and it feels like it's the same, it's like a fractal theme, right? It's just human nature and human psychology, which is like I remember my bro, like when I was in school, everyone was obsessed about having the best computer. And this was at a time when like Nvidia, I think, was just starting, right? So it was like, oh man, there's this Nvidia new card. Oh, my computer's better than yours because I got the Nvidia, whereas like you got this, you got that. And for me, it's like and I remember like it was this rat race to just like keep up with the best computer, and everyone was comparing the best computer. But then there was all these issues. And then I remember like after that phase was done, I got into, the gym. And then at the gym, it was like, man, this is the best way to put on muscle. This is the best way. Oh, no, it turns out creatine's bad. No, it turns out eggs are bad. No, it turns out this is good. No, it turns out peptides are bad. And it's this constant field of flux. And
Hmm.
I feel like, and then I remember, I swear to God, like I remember a whole lot of my friends got into cars, and then they were obsessed with like, okay, you should get like a car like this or a car like that and this and that and that, and then there's a million reasons why you should get a car like this and why you shouldn't. And then for me it was property. And then for me, and I observed that where it was just like every single like I asked 10 different people how you get rich with property, and I got 10 different really confident answers in the same way that when I asked 10 people how you get muscles at the gym, I got 10 different like confident
Hmm.
answers. And then honestly, like I have found that exact same thing when it comes to business building. It's like
Hmm.
how do you get leads? How do you have a good brand? How do you build your business? And then what I came to realize was that like ultimately at some level it's all philosophy, and there's just some first foundational principles which don't change no matter what. And so it's this synthesis of what the actual foundations are, like with whatever subject you're dealing with, so muscle building or property or whatever. So there's the synthesis of that plus your own strengths and weaknesses, like your limitations, your preferences. And then when you can find the correct match between the foundations and your own attitude, vision, your bit, that's how you find the right strategy for you. And I find like those are the only timeless universal principles that actually last. And so to me, it's like um, when I think of the property thing, like what I really like about what you just said was like you were just like, yeah, 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 I don't care. Because the truth is, the foundations as to supply and demand and the shortage of housing and the build supplies and the rising costs and the fact that there's going to be a scarcity, those things have not changed. Doesn't matter whether there's a policy change or not. Those things have not changed, and therefore the demand is going to come, and therefore the prices are going to go up. So to me, like that's how you find the signal through the noise, like by
Hmm.
going back to the true foundations of the thing. And so that is just genuinely and for me, I'm just at a place in my life, my bro, and it doesn't make me sound like a good guy, but it's just like I'm I think it's just because I'm so used to working hard, having to be disciplined, I guess you could say having to make the sacrifices, having to go through the hard times and the setbacks and having to just push on, that my level of sympathy for people who bitch out because of the perceived challenges, like I don't really have much. Like my mentality is just like, cool. It just keeps the less worthy people out, and only the actual people who are committed are going to make it. And in my view, those are the people that deserve the money. And if I can be real about it, I feel like what I am saying is the mentality that the majority of the people who've actually made it, this is the mentality that they actually have, but they don't want to say because it doesn't sound really nice to say it. It's nicer to like mollycoddle people and tell people that, no, no, it's okay, it's okay. But you know what? Like to me, the mollycoddling and they're pretending to putting up with other people's shortcomings, it's a disservice to them. I'm of the opinion that me just saying, listen, if you're not willing to, the fact is, yes, it's a challenging market. And you know what? The reasons it's challenging now in 2026 is different from why it was challenging in 2012. But at the end of the day, it's a challenging market. Are you going to lean in and find a way, or are you not? Like and if you're not, then you don't deserve the money. And that's not because you're a bad person. It's got nothing to do with the quality of your character. It's just because you're not willing to do what because you got to understand the Kedges of the world had to lean into that discomfort, and they did have to take those risks, and they did have to put up with the setbacks that came with it. So where's your compassion for the Kedges of the world? Because the Kedges of the world, you will just point at them, and you would just be like, the Kedges of the world got lucky.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, it was different for the Kedges of the world because at that time it was like this, but this time it was like that. No, like at the end of the day, at the human level, Kedge still had to deal with the fact that it was a fucking risk. Like
Hmm.
retrospectively, yeah, you can say that the risk that Kedge took or the challenges that Kedge took were not as big as the challenges now, maybe. But it's all perspective, isn't it? Anyway, like anyway, it's still real to Kedge at the time. So that's why I actually think the most loving thing I can say to people is, bro, if you're not willing to lean in, you don't deserve it. And
Hmm.
I really believe that is the most loving thing I can say to someone. Um, so yeah, man, like I just think that this, so to answer your question, Kedge, I just think that no matter, I just think that in any area of life,
Hmm.
this conversation is it's always there, and it's just about whether you're willing to lean in or not.
Yeah, man. Nah, so much truth in it. And it's like I do not struggle, but yeah, like as in to be, I think with certain people that need that. Like there's certain people I can have that kind of conversation with,
Hmm.
but I feel like, yeah, a lot, like as you said, a lot of people need to hear that. Because like I hear little things like it's like sly comments here and there. Yeah, it's because you were confident, you had this, you had that, that's why, you know what I mean? And it's like it's just their way of like justifying to themselves
Correct.
why they couldn't
Yeah.
do it, you know what I mean? And it's just like yeah, and sometimes I just let it go because it doesn't matter in most situations. But I'm just like, that's just yeah. And I find that to be, and most people probably don't even say it out loud. It's just like this. It's their internal dialogue. So
And I mean, I think it's, what's a nice, interesting question. As of the clients that come to you, do they need help working through these mindsets, or are they kind of, is it
but
really,
funnily
really,
enough,
yeah.
yeah, funnily enough, like, and I think it's probably one of the reasons why we do what we do really well, right? But unknowingly, not unknowingly, but they definitely exist, and they definitely exist. And I reckon other people that haven't, had the awareness to kind of do some of this kind of work and understand where people's heads are and human psychology, for a better words, they probably get really stuck with these people, and then they start butting heads and probably get annoyed at each other. And whereas, like, I think we're really good at just like assessing what it is. They're saying stuff, but that's not really the problem. They might be saying things about the property and saying this, but it's not even that. There's like these underlying fears that they don't even know that they had. You know what I mean? And it's like I think we're good at getting that out of them. So that we move the conversation to what it's really about. And honestly, for some of the clients, we'll do all that. And I remember there's one client I love. Oh, it's actually as in won't mind me sharing. I'm sure like it's actually like with one of your clients that you sent me, Chris.
Yeah.
And as in him and his
He's
wife
probably
Pippa.
he's probably listening, by the way.
Yeah, hopefully shares it with his wife Pippa. We just settled on their property recently, and I remember that end up we went through all of it, all the stuff, and at the end I was like, Pippa, just honestly, at this point, I've given you everything. It's just leap of faith time. Either you want to jump or you don't. And she's like, all right, I'm jumping, and we just sent some memes and stuff, and just it's just funny, and we
Cute.
still reference that. So it's just like because it's a lot of it is not even logic based for some people. It's just sometimes their first time doing it. It's their money, it's their hard-earned savings, and it's just like the emotional part of it. And I think once, yeah. And even as I didn't overly think about it, but even as you're asking me that, I just think it's something that because I've done a lot of the work with you and Manny talks the same language, and we kind of with the team we talk that language. So it's just like I think we do that part of it very well. I think unknowingly.
That's a very powerful share, man, because I think a lot of
Yeah.
people don't think to dissect it from that angle. They don't
Yeah.
think to dissect it from, what the person is giving us the objection or asking us the question about X,
Yeah.
but I have the awareness to understand that's not really like foundationally. In order for them to ask that question, it's because at a foundational level, they're probably thinking about it the wrong way. And I
Mhm.
need to like address that first.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good chat. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not. Yeah, it's actually yeah, it's actually nice. It's super interesting. It's just like some even sometimes with the team or other people, oh, but they're saying this. Like, what do I say? And I think that's the hardest part. It's hard to teach, because it is very like intuitive, and it's like practice and the thing because like, oh, this person's saying this, and in isolation, yeah, of course, if they're saying that and it's purely logical, then this is the response, right? But it's
I
but they're
might
not
be
listening.
able
But they're not
I
listening to
might
me.
be able to speak to
Yeah,
how to help train
yeah,
staff
yeah,
to figure out the real objection, because that's what this is really about, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. Correct. Yeah, yeah.
Did I interrupt? I
No,
interrupted
no,
you.
that's no, no, you interrupted me perfectly. That's pretty much what this is about. So,
My bro, I have found this, and hopefully for other business owners who are listening who also have to come to the challenge of hiring staff, this is gonna help. It's about pre-frames. If I was to boil this down into one word, it's about pre-frames. So pre-frames means, what are the foundational things that we need the person that we're working with to be on board with to make this
yeah,
outcome happen.
yeah,
So an example of a pre-frame is in sales, it's called the cost of inaction. So,
sure.
so for example, it's like, we know that this person at the moment, let's say you're doing you're doing some property consulting, right? So at the moment, the person's current situation is bleeding them $20,000 a month because of the way their property is structured.
Mm.
So we know the cost of inaction is for sure $20,000 a month. Maybe there's other costs of inaction also. But so that's one. And then the thing is, then there's actually the benefits of action. So the cost of inaction and the benefits of action. So the benefits of action is, but man, if you fucking figure this out, then you can actually get yourself $10,000 a month positive if you structure it the right way.
Mm.
So the benefits are, the cost of inaction is $20,000 a month. The benefits of action is you can switch it to $10,000
Mhm.
positive per month. And the cost of action is, I don't know, Kedge's program. Kedge's program is 5 grand. So to get Kedge's help, you spend 5 grand. So yes, it costs 5 grand to work with Kedge. But the thing is, it's going to save you 20 grand a month, and it's going to make you, and technically, it's not just saving you 20 grand a month, it's going to make you 10 grand a month. So it's going to make you net $30,000 a month. So basically, that's an example of uh, an underpinning foundation that the person needs to understand. And if the person does not understand that, then there's a million different questions they can ask about, oh, but okay, it's 5 grand, but can't you do it for 4.5 grand? Because I don't think I need this inclusion or this inclusion. And the conversation goes to all this shit that is superfluous. Whereas if you really bring it back to the foundations of what is required to make the sale, if I was to just use sales as a metaphor here, if you think about what's the foundational things that this person needs to understand, like in sales, for example, it's number one, recognition of a problem, recognition that their current solution. Number one is recognition of the problem, of the real problem. Number two is recognition of the fact that they don't know what the fuck they're doing to fix it. So recognition that they don't actually know what the solution is. Number three, recognition that Kedge has the solution. Number four, recognition of the cost of inaction. Number five, recognition of the benefits of action. So like those are the foundational levels of a sales process, that if the person understands those foundations, it it tends to remove most objections because
Yeah.
you understand what the objections are about. So I don't know if that
No, it makes sense. I want to
maybe
ask a
you
question.
understood all
Obviously,
that.
this is no, no. I was listening and I'm processing and I'm thinking about scenarios as well. So no, it all makes sense. And obviously, this is my field as well. So I love like a lot of
Yeah.
questions. So what I want to give you a scenario. So even as you're saying that to me, the way why I was like thinking is like even that sounds very logical, right? So let me give you a scenario. So clients have now signed up, right? They've paid. They're working with us now. So signed up 2 weeks later, had pretty much had that conversation that you've already kind of said, and they're on board. But now we're showing them properties, right? So this is not actually we're showing them a property. This is based on your brief, based on everything like this. This matches. What do you think? And then they say no to the first one, say no to the second one, go through, and they're just like indecisive. And it's now we're like gone another 3, 4 weeks, and they've said no to like 10 properties, right? And then each time there's an excuse. Oh, the land is probably not as big as I wanted. Oh, the insides aren't as nice. It's this, it's that. So then for the unknowing person, like it sounds like it's just yeah, oh, they're really picky. The property itself is the problem. Yeah, they want this. Oh, they're being unreasonable. But there's a fear about taking the action and buying it. Like they know they need to buy it. They know they want to do it. They're bought into the act, but they just like. But when it comes time to sign on the actual property, and we're handling the wrong objection because it's not about the land, it's not about the thing. It's just like scared to just buy that $600,000 asset. Like and that's where I was saying, oh yeah, that intuitively, it's not about that. It's like, cool, the fear's kicking in, and we're working on the fear part, then come back. In that scenario,
Yes.
yes, tell me. Yeah,
So
yeah,
to me, in that scenario, what I would be doing is like we have to elicit upfront what are the actual genuine things that
yeah.
the genuine boxes that need to be ticked to make it a good property for them. Sorry.
Can I
Yeah.
jump? Can I jump in? Because I feel like more context will be great. All right,
Yeah,
so I'm gonna
let's
jump in.
hear
So
it. Let's hear it.
one of the biggest things we say to people is like, so or just say to people, it is also true. The location is going to do 80% of the heavy lifting for you, right? So if
Yeah.
you get the location, I can give you the suburb now. You can go buy there and you throw a dartboard, and you're still going to get 80% of the result. And
Yeah.
if you want to do that, go for it.
Yeah.
But the other 20% is by getting the asset right and the other, the other asset, the land, the other parts of it right. But if I say this suburb has got all the fundamentals, it's going to go, right? But your budget is this, right? So, which means in this kind of place, you're gonna maybe probably get a slightly older home for that price, right? And then, but if you go to another suburb, we can get you for a lesser suburb, still gonna grow, and we can get you a newer house. Everyone in the first meeting will always say, "Take me to the better land, and I'll take the older house," right?
Yeah.
And
Sure.
that's what every single time, right? And obviously, they don't know the locations in depth as we do, as much as we'll educate them. But when it
Mm,
comes time to showing the house,
mm.
because they don't know how to mentally, as much as they know that principle to be true, and it might be the first time they've been educated on it, so it's not embodied, I guess. So when you show them, oh, that house is a bit ugly, or that house is a bit thing, can you show me a nicer house? And I can guarantee you, I could show them the beautiful home in the worst suburb, and they'll probably say yes, because like they're
Yeah.
attached to the house without understanding that part of it. So obviously we're trying to do right by them and just like because we know that this is gonna what it's gonna do and blah blah blah. And sometimes for some people they can't stomach the risk of an older home, so we'll go one suburb or two suburbs down and get a nicer house. Even if it's not the best location, whatever. But that is the most common situation.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way, man. So,
Yeah,
so can I ask, like, have you kind of created a spreadsheet or a visual outlay on what the what the requirements are that constitute a good purchase? If you know what I'm trying to say.
yeah. On a spreadsheet per se, no, but as in like. How do we do it? We share our screen, all the data points, what we look for, and when we present the property, we show them, okay, this property is good because it's got whatever, high ERSAD, high own occupier ratio, blah, 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 all the various little data points of supply on days on market, affluence, blah, blah, blah. These are the things that we look for. And then, yeah,
So as a suggestion,
yeah,
what could be done is like but I haven't forgotten the real question here, which is
yeah,
like,
yeah,
how
no,
do
no,
you
yeah,
flush
yeah,
out the fear thing, right?
yeah,
And I think you will like my answer. So as a suggestion, have you thought about knowing you guys, you probably have you thought about like, okay, Mr. Customer, these are the five things that constitute a great purchase, right? Can you
Yeah.
tell us what is can you rank these in order of priority of what's most important to you and
Yeah.
why, right? Now, the reason I'm suggesting to do that is because it forces them to have to understand what those five things are. Because everyone knows, everyone is, of course, going to say, oh, yeah, 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 of course. If it's in a good area, I don't care if it's a dilapidated house or whatever, right? So, but the thing is, when you force people to actually prioritize things, it actually forces them to confront this thing in
Yeah.
reality. Point number one. Point number two is like, let's say if you were to go through all of the macro scenarios that you've dealt the scenarios you've dealt with, maybe one of the biggest things that happen all the time is great area, great suburb, but shitty property or old property. And it's one of the biggest fears. So, for example, a way to dissect that is to go with a property. This is how we actually break down what constitutes a shitty property. Because, there's what it looks like on a photo, but that's not that much to go off. What actually constitutes a shitty property are these five elements. So we make sure that this property, no matter what, always has these five elements ticked, regardless of what it might look like, in order to show it to you. So basically, it's like a level down of objection handling that on a logical level. And what I'm simply saying is, if there's a way to get them on board with tactically the boxes that need to get ticked in order to present any property to them, then I believe we can get to a point where no more than three properties need to be presented for us to be able to call bullshit. No, not bullshit. Bullshit sounds way
Mhm.
too aggressive, but it's
I
kind
know.
of,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
yeah, to go, my bro. I just want you to know all three of the properties that I present, even the first property. I
Yeah.
feel like the objection needs to be handled right there on the first property. It's
Yeah.
like, bro, so when I presented this property to you, actually every single one of these boxes are ticked. So can you help
Yeah.
me understand why you feel you need this? And then they say, well, wait, I just prefer something a bit bigger. And then
Yeah.
you can say, look, we can show that to you, but there's going to be something else which is probably
Mm.
going to be missing.
Yeah.
What matters is these foundations, and it's really just agreeing on those foundations. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it. Tell
No,
me
no,
if
no,
I'm
you're
wrong.
bang on. And this is that, yeah. All this stuff's bang on. And I think for the most part, I think we do to a certain degree. But as you're saying it, there's definitely certain things like even in that first meeting, so I was about to say, like sometimes people will say it and they'll probably rank it as well. But when it comes to reality and they see their first property, that's when the panic hits in. They're like, "Oh, I didn't really want something old." And when we say old, it's like still no maintenance, and it makes it sound like they're fully dilapidated, which they're not. But I think is like in that first meeting, we should then show examples of these are the
That's
kinds
what
of
I was going to
houses.
say.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
did you
these are
say?
like,
So if
yeah,
we showed you this, would you buy it right now? And if not,
yeah,
what comes up for you?
yeah. These are the kinds of properties we bought for other clients. And what do you think about something like this? Are you comfortable with that? Blah blah blah. Yeah, correct. And that will add. Then the pre-frame is definitely done a lot better. The thing that you said about the first property, I think that one is all. As in, there's definitely clients that bought the first one, but I think people sometimes they feel like they need a frame of reference because they've only seen one. They don't know because it's a new area for them a lot of the time. They don't know what to compare it to, so they want to see then. But sometimes that first one's probably been the best one, and then they're like, "Oh, I should have said yes to that." But it's just like they need that frame. They need to see frame of reference. Okay, this is what I get for 700. This is what I get for 700. They get a frame of reference.
Can you give them three at the same time?
Not all, it depends. But sometimes it might take us a week to find a good one. Sometimes it might take us two. Sometimes I might find three in one day. It just depends. And we'll obviously tell people that because there's a lot that will come past our table that we pass on, obviously. But it's just honestly not certain element of luck in terms of timing. Yeah, in
I
terms of what we'll
wonder, can you present, like, during that first conversation or whatever, the three different types of properties that are the typical ones? So one of
yeah,
them is like A plus area, B tier
yeah,
house, whatever, you know, B plus area, A tier house, blah blah blah,
yeah,
and then you can even ask them, what do you prefer? But I
yeah,
understand what you're saying, though. Having said that,
yeah,
sometimes people
yeah,
need to see these options first. I do get that.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
Fascinating.
that was good. That was a good little bounce off. But no, definitely some value in there. Definitely some things even as you're saying it, that we can add into our process to do better for sure.
Yeah, I got something completely different to share that may be
Yeah.
of value, unless you wanted to say something else, my bro.
No, man. Keen to hear.
Man, a process, a protocol that I've been doing every evening without fail, and this might be good for any high performer who is on your team, whether it's the CEOs and founders, or I would actually say the salespeople who have to like so much of it is about performance and day to day, and you can't really hide behind a computer screen. Bro, um, it's debriefing into AI every day. Do you know what I mean by that, or do you want me to elaborate on that, or
As in, I do know what you mean, but I'm keen to hear your
so
elaboration. Yeah.
so yeah, especially for everyone listening at home, what I do, I actually have three different chats for debriefing into AI. So for me, this is probably not going to apply for most people, but I track my calories and the diet. So there's one that's already happening for that. And another one which I find incredibly important for a personality like mine, which is prone to burning out and like having highs and lows. Kedge and I have spoken about this before, but there's a lot of people I know as like honestly, it wouldn't be I would just say in sales in general, a lot of people deal with this because sales tends to attract personalities like mine, and I would say like Hedges as well, which have that natural charisma and extroversion. But the thing is, no one, most people do struggle to be extroverted all the time, and they haven't fully consciously understood why. And as a result, they view the extroverted part of them as the better part of them, and they view the part of them that kind of crashes and burns or whatever as this thing to feel ashamed about or to kind of tuck into a corner or not even think about, and they don't understand it. And the darker form of this is like dealing with it with drugs or alcohol or relationships or something like that. But I'm just saying that to give a bit of a spectrum for the people listening. I say all this to say, if you're out there and you have found yourself going through what feels like struggles with your ability to be consistent, because you might have a whole period of time where you're doing fucking amazing, but then you just seem to crash and burn, or you get sick, or you just feel depressed, or something happens, and then you want to hide. I'd love to show you exactly why that's happening. If you For me, I someone tried to tell me, a doctor tried to tell me I had seasonal affective disorder, and I called bullshit on it straight away because I don't like anyone telling me I have any condition. I don't like it. And in fact, I solved it myself with the help of one of my mentors, John D. Martini. He asked me this question. He goes, Dim, for example, have you had days where you have expended crazy levels of energy during the day so that when you get home at night, you're freaking exhausted and you want to crash? And I said, yeah, that's so easy, so logical. I understand it completely. So he goes, so Dim, you have seasonal affective disorder, quote unquote, seasonal affective disorder during winter, and you feel the winter blues. He goes, what were you doing in the summer before that? And then I was like, oh shit. Well, during the summer, I was freaking burning the candle out of both ends and I was going crazy. I was acting like a psycho during the summer. So he goes, this is just a macro version of the example I gave you earlier. You went crazy for 3, 4 months during the summer. What were you doing during the summer? Oh, fuck, I was going crazy.
Hmm.
So it makes sense that, like, suddenly in winter, it's like my body is just recouping that energy. And so now, for the people listening at home, I've given two examples. One of them is a very easy one to understand. You go crazy during the day, so when you get home at night, you're ripped. Example one. Example two is on a yearly level. It's just like you go crazy for 3 months, then it makes sense that for the next 3 months you're going to kind of be low, especially as the weather changes and all that. Um, Now let me give a kind of week to week or week to week to month example. So for me, what I noticed for sure is what I do specifically is at the end of the day, into for me Gemini, I use Gemini. I use all of them, but I use Gemini for this. I debrief into Gemini how much energy did I expend each day. out of 100. And I don't think it takes a genius to figure it out. If you have every damn day expended 100 to 110% for 7 days in a row, you're probably going to be on track to burning out or crashing or getting sick or something by day 8, 9, or 10, right? And the thing is, if you take that in isolation without the broader level data, you will just feel yourself being depressed or feeling low or feeling shy or whatever or introverted, and you won't have a reference or an understanding on why that's happening. And so then what can happen is that you end up making it about something else. You over exacerbate something else. So for example, for someone listening at home, I'm sure there have been times where um for example, you were in a bad mood or you were feeling shit. And so then as a result, maybe you over catastrophized or overdid it on a stimulus that was happening on the outside that made you particularly sad. However, if you contrast that to you, if you're in a great mood, everything's going great, you're feeling on top of the world, if that same event happened, you probably would be able to handle it differently or it wouldn't affect you as much. And so I'm saying all this to say that by tracking your energy expenditure every day, it allows you to have a broader macro level picture of yourself and how you're feeling. Sorry, Kedge, were you about to say something, my bro?
Oh, I was
Yeah,
gonna, if you don't mind, I'll jump in.
absolutely. Yeah.
As in, yeah, keep yeah. I don't want to ruin your flow. So I think you can probably sense it. I'm about to say something. I had to stop myself.
Mm,
But fun, as in quickly, funnily enough, and I was quickly looking to the side to try and find the name, but there was a time where it used to bother me so much. But I had a psychologist diagnose me with something similar.
mm.
I cannot remember the name, but it wasn't that, but it was something else. I'm gonna find it later and just tell you what it is. And then that, and it's funny because it's funny that I've forgotten it because I think for 18 months it was in the back of my head, and I was like almost like diagnosing myself that I had it because someone said it to me, like as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
Something
Dangerous.
it was something to do with the seasonal changes, and I forgot what it was. I'll find
Is
out.
it seasonal affective disorder? That's the one I was
It
saying.
wasn't that. It
Related to
wasn't that. As in, it
circadian
didn't
rhythm.
sound, unless it was, and I've forgotten, and that doesn't sound right. It was funny because it was like after first retreat I did with you, and I was happy and all good, and it's probably about 6 to 12 months after that, and then as in at that time I was like, oh, the retreat was good, got a lot of out of it, but I'm still falling into this trap. Then I went and saw a psychologist, and then I came back, and then obviously because of yeah, anyway, but that was just the journey that I went on. Wish I knew the name. I'll find out. Um, but yeah, the point is similar journey, and it's just not. It's pretty much what you just said, right? It's just that. I think that tool is great, and I think it's a really great way to like truly measure it. I think I've learned to calibrate it internally just through embodying some of the stuff that we've kind of gone through and all the stuff we've talked about. But I was just going to give a really, when you're saying that, a really simple example that I think everyone would relate to. A lot of the time, yeah, you go hard with work, you go crazy throughout the day, you might be whatever, right? Then you come home. And then some days, like something your partner might say, right? This is the whole thing about, I guess, Namaste Rich and balancing your life out and all these things. You come home and your partner might say something, and on a day that you're in a good mood, it's like whatever, like it's just whatever. On a day that you just fucking just like you lose your shit, right? And then, but put that on a spectrum, put that on, not it's not always so simple that it's the easy correlation to pick up like that. Sometimes, as you said, it could be 3 months of doing that, and without realizing you've gone 1% in the wrong direction on your relationship. And before you know it, 3 months later, you're fucking 50%, 50% off track. So, and it all intertwines, and that's the stuff. That's where the magic can happen, and that's the where the opposite of the magic can happen, whatever that word is. So, you know what I mean? So,
A hundred,
uh,
man, 100%, man. And I actually think it'll be valuable if you do find what that condition is for people to, because
I'm
other
gonna check
people
it out. I'm
might
gonna
have,
look to the side and find out. But keep talking, but yeah.
yeah, because other people may have received that diagnosis as well, and maybe we can just debunk it for people right here, you know. And here's the third, that's the second protocol. The first protocol for me, diet, that's pretty easy. Second protocol is tracking the energy expenditure. By the way, I would just say that this topic is actually, you can relate this to property or the economy, by the way, because it's like I swear what we just spoke about for the last half an hour was like, if you zoom out at the macro level trends, there's always something happening with property that is the reason that you can't get into property, right? And so if you appreciate the macro level trends, it allows you to have a different perspective on your in this case your property moves. And now I'm just bringing it to the personal level. You know, if you have a more macro perspective on what the fuck's going on with your energy and how you've been acting, it maybe allows you to regulate and govern yourself more. You know, a beautiful principle to take home with you today, when you know, for everyone listening, is the more you govern yourself from within, the more life gives you to govern. But the less you govern yourself from within, the more you will get governed by life. So the more less you govern yourself from within, the more you're going to find yourself getting sick. Extreme cases of not governing yourself from within enough, yeah, the people who end up in jail. You know, because it's like, you know, another principle that you learn in coaching is an injury is a jury from within. Because typically, in order to get an injury, you have to be pretty unequanimous. You have to be doing some dumb shit, and you're probably not dotting your I's or crossing your T's. And that's why, you know, an injury is just a way to try and bring you back into being centered, and being balanced. So the third thing that I track, and I really, really, really encourage this for anyone, for really anyone. I really mean this with all my heart, this one. At the end of, so there's four things I track, but look, at the end of every day, let me compress them. At the end of every day, I just put on the voice thing or voice function of Gemini, and I absolutely brain dump all the shit that I have yet to do, right? And I just get Gemini, hey, help me prioritize it. Sometimes when I'm just mentally just when I'm just verbally just dumping out everything that I have to do for the next day or the next week or whatever, I naturally kind of can think, cool, these are the priorities, and then Gemini would just beautifully structure it out for me. So I would say that's a really such a easy way to kind of debrief and release and create some mental space. One of the biggest things, Kedge, you know, for myself, I don't know if I shared this in the previous episode. One of the biggest things, my bro, that was making me tired was actually I was just not switching my brain off. You know, like, you know, for 4 months, it's just like you're on all the time. And I came to realize, man, I'm looking after myself. Like, I'm eating well, I'm sleeping well, I'm doing not bad on a physical level. It's just that my brain is exhausted. And hey, I can do something about that. I can switch my brain off after a certain, you know, after 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. every day. Just do the debriefing into the phone, let it, and then allow yourself to disconnect. And ironically, go have some social time, go listen to music, go do something that makes you happy. You'll be surprised, man, you'll have a lot more energy tomorrow because your brain has had some time to rest. So that's kind of principle number three. Dump out all of the your priorities, dump it all out into the AI so that it can structure it for you, so that tomorrow morning you can pick it up and you've got the list, the hit list, and you can get to work. The final thing, and I say
Now,
this,
just gonna just jump in on that
yeah,
one. Just love that one because I can relate that to the last week. There was like certain things that just keep it in my mind, and literally even in the nighttime, I was waking up every 2 hours, 3 hours thinking about it. But I knew if I just got it out, and I just knew it because it wasn't even that big of a deal. But because it was just unprocessed and just sitting in there, every time I woke up and I think about it, and it's just like that happens, and that's probably a more obvious one, but it probably happens on a micro thing on a more regular basis for sure. So.
and amen, man. And you know the wonderful thing about that is like you're creating space in your brain to move up a level. So you'll be
Mm,
surprised when you kind of go, you know what? I'm no longer entertaining having to chew up my mental space dealing with these tactical things. It's
mm.
like there's a deeper level of metaphysical upgrade that's
I
happening.
like it. I like it. I'm
Um,
gonna do that this week. I'll report back next week. But yeah.
yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
They
Yeah,
must stay
cool.
tuned for that.
Yeah, keep going, man.
And
Number
here's
four.
the final one, and I sincerely, sincerely, sincerely hope that the people at home do this because I would say it's the most beautiful one out of all of them. Um, Recognize this. Our brain has a negative bias, period. That's just a human thing. Every human that's walking on Earth right now survived because our brain had to inbuilt a negative bias to get through the times where we didn't live in a civilized society and we lived in the wilderness. We had to always scan for threats. But the thing is, now we don't really live in the jungle anymore, other than me, who lives in Bali in the jungle. But most people do not, right? So I say that to say, at the end of every day, debrief into your phone, into your AI. What are three things that you're grateful for today? And what are three things that you did that you're proud of today? And you'll be surprised because sometimes your brain will just forget all of the really wonderful things that you've done that day. And all because all you need is like one negative comment to happen, one person acting up stupid, because you cannot rely on other people to not do stupid things, or just challenges to happen. Challenges are always going to happen in life. And for me, like someone like did something really stupid to me at the gym the other day, you know, and I know logically that it's not on me. Sincerely, I really really know it. I know it's their projection, it's their thing, but it's still like it dampens me, when something negative like that happens to you. And so when I went home and I did my debriefing and I talked about all the things that I was grateful for and I was proud of, I was like, my God, man, like your brain forgets
Mm.
sometimes. And when you do that, you're like, my gosh, there's so much I can be proud of. There's so much I'm grateful for. It actually gives you the strength and the
Mm.
power and the inspiration to come back even stronger the next day. Instead of constantly pushing, you're using a different fuel source. In addition to pushing, you have a different fuel source now in your arsenal where you don't have to push so much because you actually feel fucking good. And you can feel good from facts being things that you're genuinely proud of that you did. For example, I was like, when I got home, I'm like, man, you know what? Despite this person saying this negative thing to me, um, man, I'm so grateful that I made time and I called back my mom and I had a nice quality chat with my mom. I the people at the cafe, I was real sweet to them and I was real nice to them. I'm really grateful that I made time to talk to them, and like it's sometimes it's tempting to get down on your own self and you don't realize how many good things you are actually doing. So that's my final thing for people, especially the more realize this, everyone at home, the more and more and more you want to challenge yourself, and the higher and higher and higher levels you go to, in equal proportion to that needs to be the level that you learn how to support yourself. Because otherwise you will get eaten alive and it'll be very hard to survive. So you need to have more intricate protocols to just keep your mind balanced and focused and look after yourself. The more like so I'll finish my little rant by saying this. Usain Bolt, when he's on season, is sleeping for 12 hours a day. And that's because for the other 12 hours, he's exerting so much energy that he knows at a conscious level he needs to offset that with a higher than average level of recovery because of the higher than average level of challenge he's subjecting himself to. So hopefully those are some little cute little tidbits for our friends at home.
No, that was real good, and I feel like I feel like point two, I missed it a little bit because I was trying to find this diagnosis, but I definitely heard one, three, and four. But man, take those sound bites, man, because I think there's power, there's like some power in those, man. Real good power. I'm listening. So I was gonna ask a question though. So on point four, the one that you just mentioned, the gratitude one, says, so I don't like. I'm really honest. Like I don't do that every day, right? But I feel like in my more default state, I'm curious, I did used to do that more and whatever.
Mm.
If you do that more and more, does it become more and more your default state? Because I feel like as a default, because you said everyone negative, blah, blah, blah. I don't feel that about myself now, definitely. And now, but is that because you do that enough and you see it more naturally? Would that be fair to say?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
But,
correct.
but still good to practice that muscle because there'll be times where, yeah, that just won't last. Is that?
Correct.
Yeah.
Life is,
Yeah.
it's full of twists and turns.
Yeah.
So the thing is like you can build that muscle, but if you don't maintain
Yeah.
it, it does work. See, it did for me. It wore down over time. It
Mm,
really did. And then I realized, damn, I need to like get back on this.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I can see that. And it's just like, yeah, just I think we've spoken about it a lot in the past when it's like, when things are going good, sometimes these habits drop off. You're like, oh, I don't need it anymore because things are good. But then what if you can ingrain those habits, because there'll be a time where things get worse and but those habits are still ingrained and that will keep you going during those times kind of thing, right?
Yeah, if I can like say a little something on that, like I don't know if this is not for everyone. I don't think Kedge is I don't think Kedge does this, which is nothing wrong with, right? So I don't think this is for everyone, what I'm about to say. But I have, for me personally, I mean, I'm not saying that Kedge hasn't, but I've gone through some incredibly, incredibly difficult times. Times where like everything was so gray and so dark, and I really felt like I had no recourse but to just pray to God and to Jesus and to whoever would listen, right? So, there was a time when, like, Kedge knows when, you know, close people in my life, like the closest people in my life were suicidal, and I knew that I was the wrong person to step in and help because it would make things worse in the long run. So, moments like that, when it's compounded with a lot of other things going on, for example, I like lost my relationship, lost my business, lost this, lost that, lost the money, lost everything. And I had no furniture and I'm just sitting by myself in this freezing cold apartment, and then that this loved one of yours is suicidal. When life gives you moments like that, my gosh, like it humbles the crap out of you. It reduces you to your knees. And then in those moments, who else do you have to pray to but God or Jesus or to your guardian angels or to your ancestors or to whomever? So to me, and in those moments, those beings or divinely beings or whatever we want to call that helped me. So what kind of fucking douchebag would it make me if now that everything's good and everything that I'm prayed for came
Mm,
true, what kind of douchebag would it make me to turn my back on the things that got me here?
mm,
I really fiercely believe that, and it's just like, and that's why it's just like, I think I've heard this saying. It's like when times are bad, pray to God. When times are good, pray to God.
mm,
And it's like you don't want to forget what helped you get here.
mm,
And if you do, you tend to end up getting you go down the path of forgetting, and you end up getting humbled again, and then you find yourself begging for forgiveness again, or so in the same way, for me, things like gratitude or those protocols, those are those micro
mm,
things that actually helped us get to this place,
mm.
yeah, really feel indebted to them. So that's why I think it's important to keep doing it.
Bro, so many good sounds, bro. I love that. That was good and 100%. 100%. Oh,
What a Friday sesh. Well,
yeah, man.
hope you guys are enjoying.
Oh, what's the other kind of see the time? What's the oh, we're pretty much that's
we,
pretty
we
much
did
a wrap, I think.
we did a good job.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Jenny, final bits from you, my bro.
No, man, I love that. Like, I love that second half, and now, yeah, I'd love to just. I think a lot of the last few ones we've talked a lot about. Yeah, just a lot of financial property, that kind of stuff. But I love this stuff, man. Like, and I think, yeah, and even for me, just as you're saying all that stuff, it's all of this stuff that led for me. And people may as this is in a weird intertwined way. That's what led to the financial benefits, and yeah, I'd love to dive more and more into that. And I think those 4 points and that last bit, like I think it doesn't feel related, right? But it is just so related. So I'm just keen to unpack more of that stuff off with you in future episodes. And like, yeah, and as I guess it's hard because I know it intuitively in an embodied way. I don't know how to articulate it to show people the synergy so they can understand it, so they can take action and see that synergy and focus on this stuff so they can get that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
So, and I think that's what, once again, that's what this whole podcast is about, rich and wellness in all areas of life, as we always like to say. So, yeah, I'm keen to dive further into that. with you.
I I could speak for another hour just on that. So yeah, I'm glad
Yeah.
we
I
got a place to leave.
yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the magic, man. Because I think it's sometimes and I know we're gonna wrap it up, but it's just like sometimes people are like, oh, this is how you build wealth or whatever. But it just doesn't happen for people. And the principles are there. You do
Yeah,
this, you
well,
do this,
yeah,
and,
but why doesn't it happen for people? That's right, isn't it?
you know what I
You know?
mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just like it's if it's yeah. Anyway, so. But yeah, great chat. And yeah, to everyone out there, hope you're getting value. And as always, yeah, please, yeah, let us know if there's anything that you want us to talk about, and if you're also interested in, the synergies and the weirdness and the wacky way these things intertwine. Because I think that's what, yeah, I think that's what needs to be out there a bit more. So yeah, till next time, I guess.
Until next time, love you, everyone. See you next week.